Everybody, it's Chazara. So I want to speak to you about absolutely alarming news that James O'Keefe from Project Veritas has broken. I am a huge admirer of Project Veritas. They are incredibly brave and they break incredible stories. Now, as many of you know, there is a considerable Somali population in Minneapolis. And in fact, while Obama was in power, he was shipping in, and I don't mean any disrespect to the Somalian people when I say this, it would apply to any demographic, but basically they were bringing them in as voting cattle. So this is to ensure that the Democrats retained power. And I, in fact, heard stories about airports in the dead hours, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, planes would land with Somalians on board. And you can bet that these people had not been properly vetted by ICE. James O'Keefe has done an investigation, and if you're familiar with his work, he goes undercover and he has investigators go into communities and find out and get the raw evidence of what is going on. And what is going on is quite unbelievable. Minneapolis has 80,000 voters who are Somalis. If you can swing and mobilize that vote and guarantee it goes to the Democrats, you will pretty much take Minnesota, if I understand it correctly. If not, somebody will put me right, I'm sure. So let's have a look at what is going on and what Ilhan Omar is involved in over there. To make this smaller. And we are going to take a listen to this absolutely staggering, mind-boggling information. Let's go. This is undercover Minneapolis Somalian man talking about being paid off for votes, basically voter fraud, ballot harvesting for money.
But that's illegal, what? You don't get illegal. I know that. That's all illegal. And you get it. Your focus is winning, no matter what you do. You ignore the rules and regulations. There's no moral and ethics here. It's just the end will justify the means.
Osman clearly has a blatant disregard for the American political process, doesn't fear the illegalities of his actions, so much so that he casually mentions having to pay off al-Shabaab, aka Al-Qaeda, to open a business back home in Mogadishu.
Okay, so I can't even blame him over there. What happens is, in places like Mogadishu, where ISIS and ISIS affiliates like Al-Shabaab are operating, they run a protection racket where you have to pay in order to open up a business, you have to pay to do this, you have to pay them for every single thing that you can do. So what people are doing is they are accepting money and giving over their names and their details in order to cast a vote for Ilhan Omar and the Democrats in Minneapolis. And many of them are taking that money and they are using it to help family back home in Mogadishu, Somalia, who cannot open up a business without being able to bribe Al-Shabaab. Do you understand how rotten and intertwined geopolitics gets and why I always say what happens on one side of the world affects the other side of the world? Now, I'll tell you why Al-Shabaab is of great interest to me in South Africa, because this is our neighboring country, Mozambique. I actually have cousins who were born in Mozambique, and Mozambique is a former Portuguese colony. And the northern province, just stop this over here, Cabo Delgado in Mozambique is now absolutely held hostage by Al-Shabaab affiliates. I think their name is Ansar al-Sunnah. So we have a civil war raging where these people, these militants, are going from village to village. They are burning everything down. They are killing people. They are stealing children who are then taken to be used as soldiers in the army. And this has happened up and down Africa. It's an absolute tragedy. So when you get money coming from these people and it's going off to pay Al-Shabaab in Mogadishu, that's the same Al-Shabaab that has made its way down the east coast of Africa and is now attacking the northern province of the adjoining country to South Africa. And bear in mind, they have come a long way down, if you know the map. And they've been responsible for horrendous attacks in countries like Kenya and so on. So this is a very serious issue. This guy taking money and paying off Al-Shabaab in Mogadishu in America so that Ilhan Omar and the Democrats can win the vote funds horrors in my own neighborhood. This is very serious. But anyway, as I say, this is how Africa works, and this is why you have to really make sure that you are not complicit in any way in horrors that happen in other parts of the world. And a very good way to start is by immediately investigating Ilhan Omar and what is going on in the Somali community, because as I understand it, they ensure that these people vote for their candidate because they are allowed to have a translator in the ballot box. So actually, the translator makes sure that the right candidate's name is on the paper, and then you come in and they give you money in return for your vote. And we're talking extraordinary amounts of money. $800 for a vote. He sent 2,000 to Mogadishu last night. To fund misery in my part of the world. Yeah. Okay, so you understand the position that these people are in. They are given a ticket to America. Of course they're going to take it. Do you have any idea how absolutely in distress Somalia is as a country? So they come to America, and next thing you know, exactly the corruption that they endure in their neighborhood in Somalia is waiting for them, because the people who have brought them out are as corrupt as the rest. And as I say, remember who started this. This was Obama. It was under Obama's presidency that all these Somalians were brought into America, and it's astonishing. They cannot yet speak English, but they do have the vote. And my understanding has always been that you would have to know something, and you would have to be relatively fluent in the lingua franca of a country before you're allowed to vote, but apparently not. I mean, if you go and apply for German citizenship or French citizenship, you're going to have to do a language test. And if you don't pass that, you're not going to be able to vote. I mean, this is just basic 101 common sense. So this is so dodgy and so disturbing. And you have 80,000 people that can actually swing the vote who are being paid off. And where are they getting the money from? This is absolutely staggering. It's somewhere along over here. Bear with me, because this is mind-blowing. Yeah, they should not go after you. They should go after Ilhan Omar and Obama and
Osman
their
isn't
ilk.
the only person we found during our investigation who admits to being paid, but not all were as enthusiastic about their involvement in the pay-for-vote scheme.
Ilhan has a handful of people that work for her.
Really?
They came to us to our apartments.
You will vote for Ilhan.
Do you know if they come directly from Ilhan Omar's campaign? Yes, because the T-shirts, they're not hiding.
Do they like let people know that they're with Ilhan's campaign when they're?
People obviously know.
They all know.
Everybody knows. Everybody knows in the community.
As you've heard from our sources, some in the Somali community feel strong-armed and
Just
imposed
hang in
upon
there,
Ilhan.
because what's coming up is
Beyond the alleged
explosive.
confiscation of absentee ballots, we've also heard they may go as far as voting for them at the polling station.
They will make sure that you vote, and then once you do that, on the way back right home, you put the money in the car.
How do they make sure you voted for Ilhan Omar?
Say, oh, we're gonna enter who was it. They help us. Yes. The voting booth.
This has to stop. If you are
At the
in
voting
this
booth, they
area,
allow
you
them
have
to
to
help
go
you
and
vote,
check
yeah.
that this is happening there.
So they walk up to the booth with you
Yeah.
and they vote with you.
Yeah.
This is disgusting exploitation of these people.
They actually do that inside there.
So inside the booth, the person goes in and actually votes for you.
Yeah.
Wait, it gets worse.
Yes.
So you never even get a chance to vote. Does he never really votes? It's the other person.
Yeah, they actually the ones who vote. People don't usually. Yeah, they do the voting.
They're standing outside Jamal Usman's team, and other teams are standing there. They walk with you to the booth, and then they vote. Oh, vote this guy, vote this guy, vote this guy. Vote even if you speak English.
Even if you speak English, you should not be voting
How
if you
do they
don't
get away
speak
with it at the
English.
voting center? Why does nobody complain at the voting center that you're letting these people do this? Everybody just lets you go.
Federal law says anyone who votes for others is violating 52 U.S.C. 10307, punishable by up to 5 years in prison and a $10,000 fine.
Okay, I just want to make one thing very clear over here. This is a cultural issue. If you come from a country like Somalia, which is riddled with corruption and war, and every politician is basically on some criminal payroll somewhere, you can't actually go after these individual voters and hold them responsible. You have to get at the head of the snake. There is absolutely no point in allowing these people, on the bottom end to face the consequences while letting the people who are paying for this go. And let's just hang in there a moment and see who is paying for. Where are these funds coming from?
The law is clear. Buying votes is illegal.
Spent over 250,000.
250,000.
Wow, that kind of crazy.
Just handing it out. You got that much cash.
Cash.
Number it out.
This is a big business because look, this girl's gonna propose how to end the money to Israel. Are you gonna
Did you hear that? She's going to propose how to end money to Israel. Now, Ali Isegani and the owner of the mall, Basim Sabri, and Ilan Omar's campaign.
The owner of the mall and Ilhan's campaign, the cash was coming from this guy.
The cash.
The money was being given in the mall.
He's Palestinian.
Yeah, he's financing this whole thing.
So Basim Sabri is a Palestinian who has got money to help Ilan Omar become elected in America, in Minneapolis. And this money is then going back to Mogadishu to fund more corruption. This is outrageous. And on the subject of Palestinian money, I am going to say this, and it will not make me popular. I know people become furious when I mention it, but I stand by this. I absolutely believe that Palestine is largely a created, manufactured problem. And by that, I'm not talking about Israel coming in, because the way they did it, I don't agree with. What I'm saying is that Palestinian cause and people fighting for it is being perpetuated, I suspect, by the likes of somebody like George Soros. What I know for sure is in South Africa, the people who support BDS and are pro-Palestine and anti-Israel, they're getting paid by someone in Israel. They're actually getting paid by someone in Israel. And quite a big name in South Africa. He doesn't come here anymore. He lives in Israel now. And just stop if you're going to go, oh, yes, it's the Jews again. No, because there are radicals in Israel who wish to throw the whole of Israel to the wolves. And these people are very dangerous. But I think BDS is being used, and the Palestinian issue is being used to fuel leftist politics and the whole divide between races and religions. And it's just, there are things that are happening over there that should not be happening. And you will only know about it if you have paid really close attention. And I'll just give you one detail. I got very deeply into the Palestinian cause at one point. And there were a couple of people I followed, and I certainly I had notifications, so every time they came on live, I could watch them. And then what started happening is there was something of a set-up look about it. They would get into the room and start recording, and then, you know, oh, yes, we were having terrible trouble here tonight. And then you would hear sort of sounds of gunfire and so on. There was something about it that seemed like, it was just astonishing that every single time he was filming, more or less at roughly the same time, there would be gunfire and bombs dropping. It just became a little suspicious. And there was something else. So one of the very big leaders who was, you know, terribly anti-white, though married to a white woman, terribly anti-white and terribly pro-Palestine, terribly anti-Israel, claimed to be Palestinian. And he was, you know, absolutely the right of return. We must be allowed to return to Palestine. And I am sympathetic with the Palestinian issue in that I actually have a half Palestinian aunt. So it's not alien to me, and I do look at every side of the story. However, this man goes back home, and next thing he's showing pictures of his hometown and his birthplace. And where is this birthplace? Damascus. Damascus is in Syria. Damascus is not Palestine. So I actually said, you know, excuse me, hello, I thought you said you were from Palestine. And he says, yes, I am. I said, but you just said that you were born and raised in Damascus, which is in Syria. At which point he blocked me. So there are suspicious things happening. The money being raised over there is going to fund suspicious things. And this is the first real verification I've had that Palestinian money is involved in less than savory causes. So people might be giving over money with the very best of intentions. And then it goes to buy votes in America. And that money then travels all the way back to Mogadishu, where it supports fundamentalist ISIS-like militias, Al-Shabaab, Ansar al-Sunnah, and causes trouble in the rest of Africa. Very, very serious. Okay, that's it. Chezra signing out.